Hello and welcome. Today's topic is our development of the kidney. In my earlier videos of embryology, I told you that the how mesoderm forms, how ectoderm forms, how endoderm forms. Okay, so a part of the mesoderm is intraembryonic and extraembryonic mesoderm. Anyway, what is extraembryonic mesoderm? You already know. What is intraembryonic mesoderm? You already know. Now, intraembryonic mesoderm, it divides itself into three parts: paraxial mesoderm, intermediate mesoderm, and lateral plate mesoderm. You already know about these things. Okay, now paraxial mesoderm forms somites. What is somites? You already know that. Intermediate mesoderm gradually bulges and forms two segments. One is medial segment, urogenital ridges or urogenital ridge, and laterally we have two nephrogenic cord, right side, left side. Okay, now medial urogenital ridge forms the gonads and the lateral nephrogenic cord forms the excretory system. And the lateral plate mesoderm, you know that it forms the somatopleuronuclear and splanchnopleuronuclear. Okay, lateral nephrogenic cord extends from the cervical segment to sacral segment of embryo, and it undergoes pronephros, mesonephros, and metanephros stages. Okay, so what are these stages? I will talk about later. Just wait. Now, for your extra knowledge point, I have to repeat few things like fate of cloaca. What is cloaca? You already know that, which I told you in my gastrointestinal tract. So it is a part of the hindgut, or you can say this is a terminal part of the GI tract. Anyway, this cloaca divides itself into two parts. One is ventral primitive urogenital sinus and dorsal urorectal septum, which converts into primitive rectum. Concentrate only in this ventral primitive urogenital sinus, which divides again itself into two parts. One is definitive urogenital sinus and vesico-urethral canal. Now, this definitive urogenital sinus forms the pelvic part of the kidney, phallic part of the kidney, and vesico-urethral canal ultimately forms the urinary bladder and primitive urethra. Okay. Another extra knowledge point, that mesonephric duct. See, I will talk about this, but to understand, this mesonephric duct is also known as Wolffian duct. It is also known as Leydig's duct. It is also known as archinephric duct. It is also known as nephric duct. Anyway, so many names, but only single tube-like structure. Okay, this mesonephric duct or Wolffian duct forms so many structures. Especially in male, it forms the efferent duct of the testes, epididymis, vas deferens, posterior wall of the posterior urethra, seminal vesicles, and ejaculatory ducts. Okay, especially in female, it forms epiphoron, paraphoron, Gardner's duct, and Skinner's gland. But in both gender, it forms the trigone of the urinary bladder, ureter, renal pelvis, major and minor calyces, ampulla, and almost 1 to 3 millions of collecting tubules. Okay, now all these things from ureter to the collecting tubules all are formed from the ureteric bud. Okay, next is paramesonephric duct, which is also known as Mullerian duct. Okay, this develops at urogenital ridges. In 6th week of intrauterine life, this duct gets anteriorly to the mesonephric duct, right side, left side, ultimately conjoins or combines together, it fuses together with each other and forms uterine canal and uterus, cervix, and especially in male, it forms appendix of the testis and prostatic uretricle. Okay, ureteric bud forms the collecting part of the kidney, and metanephric blastomeres cells forms the secretory parts of the kidney. Okay, kidney develops from the nephrogenic cord. What is nephrogenic cord? I told you just in the classification. Okay, and it extends from the cervical to sacral region. Anyway, what happens in pronephros stage? To understand, it starts at the cervical region, as you can see in this photo. It starts at the cervical region at the 4th week of intrauterine life, and later it regresses or it gradually diminishes and forms pronephric duct. Now, the mesonephros stage, what happens? It starts at thoracolumbar region at the end of the 4th week of intrauterine life, and there pronephric duct continues as a mesonephric duct to this stage. At the end of the 5th week, mesonephric duct forms collecting part of the kidney and other reproductive parts in male and female. In metanephros stage, what happens? It starts at the lumbosacral region at the beginning of the 3rd month of intrauterine life. So there is long gap. Okay, and there it forms secretory part of the kidney. Now try to concentrate this chart. See, this is the collecting part of the kidney, and this is the excretory part or the secretory part of the kidney. Anyway, from there, mesonephric duct, which is also known as Wolffian duct, it forms the ureteric bud, it forms the ureter. Now, proximal part of the ureter, it dilates and forms the renal pelvis. Okay, now these renal pelvis, inside it forms the ampulla, which divides the entire renal pelvis area or the kidney into 12 to 14 segments or conical area, which ultimately forms the renal pelvis. Now, from this renal pelvis, small minor calyces will form. Lots of minor calyces together, it forms the 2 to 3 in number major calyces in each side, right side, left side. Now these major calyces will form the collecting duct and it will convert into collecting tubules. Okay, excretory part, as I said, metanephros stage. What happens? Metanephric blastomere cells, it forms a cap-like or pear-shaped metanephric vesicle. Okay, now this metanephric vesicle forms a primitive tubule. One end of this primitive tubule forms C-shaped loop, another end forms Bowman's capsule. Now this C-shaped loop converts into collecting tubules again, and it forms S-shaped loop. Ultimately it forms proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule. Anyway, understand? And this Bowman capsule, what happens? These invaginates by tuft of capillaries, lots of capillary or bunch of capillaries of the mesonephros. Okay, mesonephros area, it consumes or it covers this Bowman's capsule area and forms a renal corpuscle. Okay, now this PCT, loop of Henle and DCT along with the renal glomeruli all together forms ultimately one nephron. Okay, now this collecting tubule and the nephron together forms the kidney. Anyway, here is another extra knowledge point. At thoracolumbar region, kidney rotates medially 90 degree around the vertical axis. That's why the hilum of the kidney directs towards medially. Okay, and this phenomena occurs during the GI tract rotation phase. Okay, so this GI tract rotation phase you already know from my GI tract development videos. At this point you have to understand that at the middle of the third month, this kidney ascends towards the thoracolumbar region to get the better blood supply, and it requires growing space in the retroperitoneal area. It ascends or it goes upward towards the thoracolumbar region. Okay, so initial blood supply, it was from the median sacral artery, but when it goes to the thoracolumbar region, it gets the blood supply from the lateral splanchnic branches. Okay, ultimately this divides into splenic artery and renal artery. Now these things occur in the both side, right side, left side. So this is the overall development of the kidney. I hope you will understand, and see you in the next video. Till then, bye.